Welcome back, high school hockey fans. It's another edition of This Week in Wisconsin Prep Hockey. Mike Hammett here, along with Bill Berg Jr., and also Del Scanlon, as we talk a little bit about the high school season for the boys and the girls. And as we always do, we have our games of the week on the boys and the girls side. Del, you had the chance to get out and see the Medford girls taking on Arrowhead this past weekend.
Yeah, actually, it was the second night in a row I got to see Arrowhead play. I'd seen them the night before play Wisconsin Valley Union, but with Medford at Arrowhead was our game of the week, and it was also senior night down at the Mullet. And so, uh, early in the first period, Medford ended up scoring fairly quickly, uh, and then got a couple penalties were called in the period. And Medford found themselves trailing 2-0 at the end of the first period. Alexa Jarvis and Rowan Smith helped out on a goal by Bella Hamill, which was a nice play in front of the net. Uh, the second period, while there was only one goal scored in the second period, uh, the biggest thing about that period was Arrowhead picked up two 5-minute majors in the period. And at one point, both players were in the box at the same time. And the second one included a game disqualification. But coming out of the period, Arrowhead had a 3-0 lead. And uh, we went to the third period. While there were still a few penalties called in the third, Arrowheads ended up scoring two more goals to end up winning the game 5-0. Uh, it was just a game that Arrowhead had the depth on the bench, um, the skill to move the puck around, and kept the pressure down on the Medford's goaltender. Uh, Looking over at the Medford bench, they had six substitutes on the bench for the game. So basically, almost two lines. I didn't really keep an eye on to see all six of them coming in and out, but you figure going that game, they pretty much had to keep running it that way. But that was Arrowhead's second game in 2 days. And then on Saturday, they made a trip on to Viroqua for three games in 3 days, and which I guess gets you ready for uh, playoff time. And with that, I'm going to toss it on over to Burglar for the boys' game of the week. Or I guess it's going to Junior.
Hey, before we
Yes.
go to Junior, I
hmm
got a question for you guys. Del, you mentioned disqualification. Is there a rule in the WIAA that you can have only a certain amount of disqualifications?
There was at one time,
There still is. I'm
um,
pretty sure you're still only allowed three before your team is no longer tournament eligible.
and
Okay.
because wasn't that a few years back when, and the first year it came into play that Oregon High School got disqualified from being able to be in the
Well, that wasn't the
playoffs.
first year the rule was in place. That was the first year that the checking from behind rules changed. The
Okay.
Yes.
disqualification rule has been there for quite some time. Since I believe a brouhaha up north somewhere.
Yeah. And the two major penalties in this one, the first one was a 5-minute major for head contact, and the second one, which included the game disqualification, was a called a checking from behind penalty, in which you know I, the ref's angle was probably better than mine. What mine because he's right down there on the ice, being able to see the play. Uh, it was a hand to the back, and I thought I when I first saw it, I thought that it was going to be a boarding call, which still could end up with the game disqualification. But they called it a checking from behind. And while we're on that subject, Burglar, maybe you got the answer to this for me. What is the difference between a body checking penalty and a checking penalty?
That's not a real question.
It's just the way the ref phrased it to the booth.
Okay, because I do know that when we fill out the score sheets, you got a choice between body checking or checking.
Yeah, they're analogous. They're the same thing.
Okay. Just was kind of curious about the rule about disqualifications.
I'm pretty sure that that's still in place. 3 for
Okay.
the season, and you're out of the playoffs.
Okay, Junior, Somerset and New Richmond.
Yes, Somerset in New Richmond met under the lights at the Shields Ice Arena at the United Heroes League in Hastings, Minnesota. New Richmond was fresh off their surprising loss to River Falls, where they ran into Daniel Lynn, uh, hot goaltender, who to shut them down that night. So they were looking for a little revenge, and it looks like they got it on Friday against Somerset. I watched that game. I couldn't make the trip over to Minnesota, but I watched it on the Justin live stream, who does all the New Richmond games, and um, very cool atmosphere. The fans were all up against the boards because there were no seats to speak of at that outdoor arena. Uh, but it was a very cool atmosphere. Unfortunately for Somerset, there was a little bit too much New Richmond in this one. First period, New Richmond outshot them 16-8. And Bjorn Bonneman and Canton Langness each scored goals for New Richmond to take a 2-0 lead after the one. Second period, more of the same, 15-8 in favor of New Richmond with the shots. Somerset got a shorthanded goal just a minute 52 into the period. Micaiah Schuld. But then New Richmond answered back with 3 more. Matthew Unger, Zaylen Sweet, and Stephen Chapman picked up goals. Chapman's was in the final minute of the second period, and those final minute goals are always killers. And then in the third period, Bonneman, Unger, and Kenton Langness again, 3 more goals for New Richmond. Again, shots were 13-7. And Micaiah picked up another one for Somerset to make it 8-2. But in this one, playing outdoors under the lights, it was just a little too much New Richmond for Somerset. New Richmond took the 8-2 win, outshooting Somerset 44-23.
Yikes.
I think they were fired up after that loss to River Falls. They outshot River Falls 50-28 and lost 3-2.
Well, something to be said about a hot goalie.
Well, and Bergler was talking about the freshman goalie for Wausau West a couple of weeks ago, Scalcucci, who is a TW U15 goalie, and Daniel Lynn for River Falls is the other one for that TW team. I believe MJ, you were at Notre Dame in Verona.
Yeah, bringing that game up here. Was actually a pretty good game. We just got the write up and a few pictures up today. It was quite the game. Both teams had chance on the power play in the first period, neither team scored. But in the second period, Notre Dame came out, and about halfway through the period, they scored on the power play. Nathan, is it Andy? He scored on the power play. Then Verona comes back late in the period because Notre Dame got in a little bit of penalty trouble. They got two-minute penalties at the same time, and Verona made quick work of that with Trey Grignon scoring on the power play, the 5-on-3. I mean, it was like 3-4 seconds into the power play, and they are already scored. So it was 1-1 after 2, and third period, the goaltender for Verona, Blake Craven, was phenomenal. I thought he was going to carry this game into overtime, but with about 34 seconds left in the game, in the regulation, Nathan Andy again scores to make it 2-1. Verona calls timeout, and not really able to get much of a chance to get the game tied, but it was a pretty entertaining game. I mean, it was the two teams that were playing in the state championship game this past spring, and it was a very entertaining game. So I'm looking here. Blake Craven stopped 33 of 35 in that game, and Leighton Jeske stopped 18 of 19. So Notre Dame about outshot him 2-1, but still Blake Craven was phenomenal. Gave Verona a chance, and but they come up a little bit short. Verona falls to Notre Dame Academy 2-1. What I had found out, I was texting back and forth with the Notre Dame coaches. Their younger players have been playing a lot, and obviously they're learning faster than what you would probably want to learn for younger kids coming into high school hockey. But you can see where there is some talent there, and Notre Dame was able to really. I'll tell you what, guys, I was really impressed with Notre Dame's defense. Man, they just don't give you much, or at least they didn't that night. But I was really impressed with their defense. I thought they played a very good, sound defense, and I don't know. I thought they looked pretty sharp.
Yeah, I meant to. I last year we watched Notre Dame a couple times, and their defensemen were very aggressive at holding the blue line in their attacking zone. In fact, when we saw them play against Bayport, Bayport knew that was going to happen. And Bayport was always sending somebody streaking up the middle and trying to bounce the puck high off the glass to get it over the Notre Dame defenseman and to that guy streaking down the middle. Do they still do that? I mean, they have a new coach from last year, different coach this year, but were they still that aggressive at holding the offensive blue line?
Yeah, I thought so. Obviously the names have changed back there on the blue line, but they were just steady that on Saturday night. I mean, they worked their way of playing defense pretty doggone good. And even when they did have a breakdown or two, I mean, their goaltender was more than up to the challenge. But yeah, I think I can remember seeing some of that. But I think that Notre Dame, they could get back to the state tournament. They're going to have to get past Bayport, but Notre Dame I thought looked pretty good on Saturday night.
Now, Junior, you watched the Bayport Notre Dame game last week, correct? And
Yes,
that
sir.
that I mean that was a 2-1 game, and but if I remember correctly, did Notre Dame outshoot Bayport in that game?
Yes, by quite a bit. And one of Bayport's goals was what Bergler just mentioned, where they dumped the puck out high off the glass and picked it up in the neutral zone.
All right. So do you want to say it now, or do you want to save it for sectional previews? You know what I'm talking about.
I know what you're talking about.
You're gonna save it?
We'll save it. Everybody
Okay.
else knows what we're talking about too.
We'll save it. Let's see. I had another thought on it, but obviously I can't remember it at this point. It's showing my age again. So let's just go ahead and move right along. We got our Best Western Premier Park Hotel Players of the Week, and Bergler, you've got this down, and you got a couple of deserving players.
Thanks, MJ. Yes, the Best Western Premier Park Hotel Players of the Week. Best Western Premier Park Hotel right there in downtown Madison. Stone's throw from the Capitol. The official headquarters, the state tournament headquarters of Wisconsin Prep Hockey. You heard this kid player goaltender mentioned earlier. We actually apparently they were so impressed with his performance that we actually got three separate nominations for Daniel Lynn, the aforementioned goaltender for River Falls, who stopped 48 of 50 shots in River Falls 3-2 win over New Richmond. And one of those nominations made reference to the fact that River Falls hadn't beaten the first time since 2009 that River Falls has beaten New Richmond, and they play twice a year in that conference. So, yeah, it's a lot of games in a row that New Richmond won. So Daniel Lynn, goaltender for River Falls, our Premier Park Boys Player of the Week. And sticking with the goaltender theme, we have Katarina Donna, goaltender from Hudson. She played 3 games last week, did not allow a goal. 30 saves in a scoreless tie with Chippewa Falls Menominee. That one was like 60 some minutes of shutout hockey with the 2 overtimes in there. 19 saves in a 3-1 win over University School, and 27 saves in a 2-0 win over Hayward. So add that up, and you've got a bunch of saves and no goals allowed for Katarina Donna, goaltender for Hudson. You guys mentioned that Daniel Lynn was a U15 goalie for Team Wisconsin. Katarina Donna is one of Kendall Sunby and Autumn Cooper's teammates on the U19 girls team Wisconsin. So congratulations to both goaltenders, outstanding weeks. And that should take us to top sixes.
Yeah, I just wanted to mention Kat Donna has only had 1 game this season where her save percentage was below 90. And she faced 47 shots in that game. So, she's very busy and she's very good. Her save percentage on the season is .948, and that's just absurd. But moving on to the top sixes, despite their loss to River Falls, New Richmond is still number 1, although they are virtually tied with Oregon at this point. Only 2 points separate 1 and 2. And that's, one flip. One coach puts Oregon 1 point above New Richmond, and that moves them up 1, New Richmond down 1, and they're tied. So there's really 1 vote separating them. Amory's still 3rd. Springs is still 4th. River Falls moves up 1 to 5th, and Tomahawk drops 1 to 6th. Also receiving multiple votes were Lakeland and Monona Grove. Made a change this week since we had a lot of voters this week, so only listing the teams that received multiple votes. On the girls' side, Superior is still number 1. Central Wisconsin is still 2. Bay Area moved up to 3rd, and St. Croix Valley dropped down to 4th. Hayward and Hudson are still 5th and 6th. Also receiving multiple votes, University School, Rock County, the Warbirds, and Western Wisconsin, which is more girls' teams than we've had on the list in quite a while. And then in Division 1, Chippewa Falls moves up to number 1. Spash drops to number 2 after their loss to Eau Claire Memorial. Bayport, Eau Claire Memorial, and Edgewood are still 3, 4, 5, and Notre Dame moves into the 6th spot. They were not ranked last week. Also receiving multiple votes were Brookfield and Hudson. Hudson just won't go away.
I did see that Brookfield has now won back-to-back Classic 8 conference titles.
Yes,
So
they have.
Good for them.
It was more, I shouldn't say it was more impressive, but it was cooler last year when USM was still in the conference.
Mason said to me this weekend when we were in the car heading up to the game, he says, Dad, why don't all the teams that are independent schools, why don't they all just go ahead and play, a tournament of all independent schools? It's like, well, they used to do that.
Well,
And then
Superior and University School is quite a trek.
yeah,
Like you could not get like geographically further apart.
yeah, that's for sure.
Host a tournament in Marshfield.
Green heck.
Green Heck.
I
What
figure
we got?
Marshfield's the center of the state, so
What we got for upcoming games of the week?
They keep Dell busy this week.
Tuesday, Hudson is at St. Croix, the Fusion, and then our boys' game on Saturday is Brookfield at Middleton. It's the Supernova game. I'm kind of drawing a blank on that one.
Well, you should read our website.
Yeah,
Supernova game to benefit the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society.
okay. You know, we have
Named in honor of Noah Spanger, a young boy from the Middleton hockey community that was battling leukemia or lymphoma.
you know, we have a lot of uh games where, you know, they have a cause. I think a lot more than what we used to have, where they're doing something for a benefit, or you know, like it just slips me now, but it just seems that we're doing a lot more of those. And it's good to see that, you know, we're not just playing hockey and, you know, and so on, but also, you know,
well,
putting a cause
I
out
mean,
there that,
the Brookfield and Waukesha game from December 23rd, they just posted that that game drew $11,000 for the foundation they were playing for. That's a high school hockey game. That's crazy.
yeah, I remember watching that game. It was packed.
you've got, I mean, the Rock County Fury has played 2 games this year, one against USM and then one where they traveled to uh, play Cap City Cougars, and both were mental health awareness games. Uh, St. Croix Valley had done a game similar to that, uh, and I can't exactly remember what theirs was for. But Coach Cranston had talked to me about that a little bit. Uh, and I think, one, you know, hockey families, are used to seeing games where they've done benefits to try to help other families, and these kids and coaches have all seen that. And so now they're kind of looking at the different things, the cancer awareness games you see, and things that they can help draw the awareness to them. And there may have been more of those games going on, but the word wasn't getting out about them. And I think that with us reaching out to the teams, saying, let us know when you have these type of games because we'd like to promote them, I think that helps too.
Well, yeah, and we've been getting them, and we put them all. We put the story on the front page. It goes out on all of our social media. We can't always make it the game of the week because we have like multiple games going on Saturday. The one Dell's going to cover, the Supernova game, and also Bayport is going to New Richmond for a Take Action Honor Katie benefit game. Katie Lysing was a sheriff's officer in St. Croix County who was killed in the line of duty, and they're doing a fundraiser for the Take Action Honor Katie committee, and that we are more than happy to publicize that, post that, advertise it, whatever you want to call it, get the word out on the website and through our social media accounts. When possible, we will make it a game of the week and we'll try to cover it, more coverage in person stuff. But let's say there's multiple games going on Saturday. Only one of them can be the game of the week. So Dell's doing the one down in Middleton, but yeah, we're more than happy to publicize any, special events that you've got going on for your games. If you have special themes, fundraising thing, just, send us all the details and we'll get it out there.
I know on Thursday down in my neck of the woods here, Janesville and Beloit hook up in their Big 8 game here in Janesville, and they're having a night cancer awareness and for the Rock County Coalition for Cancer. They're gonna be trying to raise funds for that. So I know they've done it a couple times and it's always a successful night. But yeah, I agree. If you get the word to us, and we'll be more than happy to put it out there for everybody.
And then our other game of the week, the Hudson at St. Croix Valley. That ought to be interesting. Hudson's coming in riding three shutout games with Katerina, Donna, and net. A 0-0 tie against the Sabres, which was a conference game. 67 minutes, nobody could find the back of the net, and then 2 more games after that where they had the shutout. Whereas St. Croix is on the other side of this, going on. They have lost their last 2 games in overtime, a 3-2 loss to Western Wisconsin Stars and a 2-1 loss to USM. So you got, we're winding down on the regular season here. I think we got next week pretty much wraps up the regular season, and then we're looking at going into regionals and everything. And this is the time these teams are trying to get their everything on track to make sure that they're ready for that, because you don't want to be going into the playoff time of the season trying to get things on track.
Well, plus you want to get the best seating position you can, try to get a home game or 2 in there.
Yeah, the seating meeting should be coming up here pretty soon. And you're right, Bill, about trying to get a home game or 2. And it's funny how when they sit down and they go and do this process, I mean, how things are all broke down, and it comes down to sometimes just splitting hairs about things. It makes a difference between a home game and going on the road. But
Yeah, that's what's
anyways,
unfortunate. We don't have our 2 different computer ranking profiles that we used to have. Because some of the coaches, if they would, if they're going to be arguing for a higher seed, they would go in there with all with those computer rankings to show that we've beat, we've played a tougher schedule, we've played tougher competition. They would use they use whatever they have available to them, the coaches to try to get the best position they can.
well, the thing is also, Bill, there's no hiding around playing a tougher schedule. I mean, coaches know, which teams have got what, and they can look at a schedule and say, hey, these guys play a pretty tough schedule, maybe a little bit more tougher than ours. But we're going to find all that out here pretty soon, because that stuff is coming up faster than we thought it would. So anyways, guys, any extra thoughts on anything tonight? Got any final thoughts?
Well, before we actually went on the air, we were talking about the Groundhog tournament and the Badger Conference tournament, and somehow we haven't seen the brackets for those 2 tournaments yet. For the Badgerland Conference or the Groundhog tournament, and they would be greatly appreciated at this point in time.
Hey, speaking of the Groundhog tournament, did you guys see that PETA is trying to get involved with Jimmy the Groundhog?
No.
Yeah, it's a fact. It was on the news the other night.
Yeah, well, actually, when I was searching for seeing if I could find the Groundhog tournament bracket, I saw there was a couple videos up about that and everything. I don't want to go down that trail.
No, I'm not trying. I'm not trying to. I just Just throwing that out there, but we don't have to discuss that.
Well, we know that I have a hard time staying politically correct all the time, so we
Yeah,
shouldn't go down that way.
but yet, remember a couple of years ago when they picked up Jimmy and Jimmy is supposed to be whispering in the guy's ear and he tried to pierce it. Fun times. All right, anything else, guys?
Dell, did you want to say anything about the Hobie Baker Award? Like
Well,
how few nominations they've gotten already?
actually, I sent an email out to the girls coaches today. Out of 27 girls teams, we had 7 nominations that had been turned in as of last Friday. And if I remember the numbers correctly, out of the 85 boys teams, 17 nominations had been sent in.
Wow.
And and actually a week from tomorrow, all those nominations are due.
Now, as a serial procrastinator, I sort of understand that.
I will say that Jim Hayes did say this was the week that most of the votes end up usually coming in. And when he sent me that email on Friday. So hopefully later in the week when we hear something from him, we hear that we are at least up into the 90 percentile for people having voted or nominated one of their seniors. I really, really, really would love to see that hit 100%. I unless you do not have a senior on your team, I find it hard to believe you do not have at least one senior that is worthy of being nominated for that award.
Yeah, you would figure out of 27 teams, you would have more than 7. So, yeah, like you said, Junior, about procrastinating, I'm sure more of them will be coming in soon. So, guys, we're looking at, as we close up shop here, we're looking at what, about 2 weeks of the regular season left? That sound about right?
Sounds about
Mhm.
right to me.
I
I
think the
got
11th is and
I got an update for you. We talked last week about Jackson Marthaler playing from Superior playing on the U.S. U.S. Team USA that's playing in the Winter Youth Olympic Games in South Korea. They've split their first 2 games. Well, both games went to shootouts. They won the shootout for a 5-4 win over Slovakia, and then lost the shootout, the 5-6 loss to Czechia. Put them together in their Czechoslovakia, but they've split up apparently now. Anyway, they'll be taking on Canada in the semifinals. They ended up second in their bracket then. They'll be taking on Canada in the semifinals tomorrow, which may be today, because it's tomorrow over there. I don't know. But Marthaler did have an assist in each of the 2 games. So
all right.
he's
Now,
playing
Okay,
is
well.
and
this- Go ahead, Del.
in answer to your question, the regional semifinals are 2 weeks from tomorrow.
Jeez. It's coming fast. Now, this tournament that this young man's playing in over in South Korea, is this the same one that Ty Emberson was part of?
Yes.
Okay, that's what I thought. All right, guys, anything else?
No, sir.
Okay, I'll take that as a no then. Any vote to make a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second it. All right, for the fans out there, we'll be back next week. getting another week closer to playoff time for the fellas. I'm Mike Hammett. See you next week on This Week in Wisconsin Prep Hockey.